I got an invite to a party today. An invite that, it mentioned me by name and it gave me the address of the party and it gave me the title of what the event gathering was about. And based on those elements, I thought, wow, I need to rearrange my schedule and make sure I'm there. And then I clicked on the details of what the gathering was actually going to be like. Not just the title, not just what it was about, so to speak, but actually what did they plan to do when we all get there? And that changed my mind. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I really did think, just based on the title and when the event was and where the event was, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I started scrolling down and read some things that said, for an example, there will be a pack of cigars for everyone who attends to enjoy the evening smoking. And there will be an open bar with blah, blah, blah kind of liquor and just a chance to network. And networking I love. I love to meet new people in their environment, but I get allergic to cigarette and cigar smoke for some reason. Just the smell of it in my clothes and the smell of it in my nose, and I get a sinus infection. I don't even have to be around it very long. If I walk into a place where cigarette smoke used to be, like an old bar or a tavern or something, it only takes a couple of days, and then I'm coughing and hacking and everything else. And I try to avoid that. So as much as I'd love to go to this party, that's something about that party that, it says I'm not going to be... although I might be welcome, I won't be enjoying it much. And the challenge that a lot of leaders have is that we miss the reality sometimes that people gather for a particular reason. They rally around for a particular reason. They come together to fight together, to stand together, to struggle together, to strive together for a reason. Sometimes in a corporate environment or a job environment, that only reason is money. They know that they're getting paid, and so they want to be there to get paid. Sometimes that gathering of that reason is more of an emotional reason. It's more of a familial reason. We get together even with people that sometimes we have a hard time tolerating because they're family. Think family reunion, Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, right? We gather around for a purpose, even if we have to somewhat tolerate some of the people that are there, not necessarily happy with them, but because they're part of our lives and our family, we put up with them. And then sometimes we gather in a place where really we're not so excited about the people in this place at all. We're not even excited about the way that they conduct themselves or even the environment that this gathering is in, but we are sold out to the purpose of the gathering. An example might be going to the hospital when a loved one has had a tragedy or a trauma. We don't want to be hanging out in the hospital. This is not an environment that we're like, okay, we'll tolerate everybody here because this is a cool place to be. We're not necessarily ecstatic about all the other people that are gathered around here because some of them we may not even like, but the cause for which we gather, that's a whole different thing. See, I think sometimes leaders forget that when people come together in a workplace or they come together for a cause, or they come together because of a familial or an emotional bond, that those different reasons for gathering also mean they have different levels of commitment. They'll tolerate more. They'll put up with more. They'll engage more. They'll do more. They'll risk more. They'll sacrifice more. They'll participate more, depending on why they gathered. Think Braveheart. Most of those people weren't necessarily, hanging out drinking buddies, although there probably were quite a few of them. If you think about the front line of Braveheart and Mel Gibson riding his horse back and forth across the front, rallying the troops, getting them ready to go to war, the majority of those people had one common cause, and that was grievance against the tyranny that was overcoming their life. They gathered together for a cause, whether they like the people next to them or not. And I don't know that anybody looks at a bloody battlefield and goes, that's where I want to hang out for the day. So it wasn't about the environment, and it wasn't about the people they were hanging out with necessarily. It was more about the cause that drove them to do what they were doing. As leaders, I would challenge you to make sure that when you develop the vision for your organization, that your vision not be solely oriented on the bottom line and the making sure that you stay in the black with your finances, even though it's important that everyone on the team have a healthy paycheck, have a reasonable work environment, have a place that they want to come where it doesn't smell of mold and mildew, it doesn't reek to high heaven from other smells, even if they're the things that you deal with like chemicals every day. But a work environment that's safe, a work environment that's pleasurable to work in, those are bonuses. A paycheck, a financial reward, again, a good bonus. But if they have a vision for the cause of your organization that really drives them to show up and make the sacrifices of time, talent, treasure, and attention, you're going to find a whole different organization. I believe that if you will start with the vision of your organization, and if you have an organization that's running already, a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, a small team of people or a giant corporation, if you've already got something going, ask yourself, if I were to back up and look at the vision statement again, is there something in the motivation of the people that gather here, the ones that show up, punch in, give their time to get a paycheck? Is there something that motivates them to do what we do way beyond the paycheck? Is there enough affinity for our cause, enough loyalty in our relationships, enough diligence and dedication to the overall outcome that they would stay if I had to go for a week without paying them? I don't recommend that you go for a week without paying them by any stretch of the imagination, but if you've built the kind of team that is loyal to the cause of the ultimate outcome, the people that you benefit and add value to, if they're loyal enough to that cause that they would show up even if you couldn't pay them for a short time, now you've got a team that you can depend on no matter what comes. If on the other hand they show up only because of the environment or only because of the paycheck or only because they feel good while they're there, and they're not really committed to the ongoing cause or the bigger picture of what it is that you do, chances are somebody could come along and tempt them with a little different paycheck, a better work environment, or a group of friends that they like to hang out with, and you'll lose them. As a leader, it's imperative that we identify that thing that causes people to gather, especially in the circles that we function in. Identify why they come together, and then know how to motivate that cause, motivate that orientation. We've got to be able to maximize and capitalize on the reason that people gather. Do they gather like the Braveheart soldiers? Do they gather like the people who come together in the hospital room? Do they gather because it's a holiday? If you don't know the answer to that question, then motivating them is going to be really hard. If you do know the answer to that question, motivating them should be a whole lot easier to get the job done. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family,